what's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Hope everybody's doing well this evening. Obviously, got an exciting evening lined up here. Obviously, we got to start off with our weekly live stream. Obviously, typically we would do this on a Sunday evening or a Monday evening, but obviously with the Super Bowl on Sunday and then Valentine's Day yesterday, couldn't really do it. So what we decided to do is, since we had our watch party already planned for the Georgia Tech men's basketball game tonight, that we'll just do a little bit of a live stream ahead of time, just kind of talk a little bit of NC State current events before we get rolling here. Greg the Leg will be joining us here in a little bit. That's why we were late. Unfortunately, he will run into some technical difficulties, but he should be on with us here in a minute. But in the meantime, we got myself, Leighton Smith, and Michael Tracy here with us from Tuffy Talk, ready to rock and roll. Make sure if you're tuning in with us, make sure to give us a shout out. Give us send us a comment. Let us know who's here. Let us know what questions you have, thoughts you have as we go here. Again, this is really just an open stream talking about all things NC State, all current events, all things. So starting out first, Michael, with something that I was actually very impressed with this weekend, which was the start for NC State softball. They got off to their start with the River City leadoff round robin. It's not really a tournament; it's more just kind of like a round robin style where you just play each other. And State softball came out at 4-1, and on top of it, actually beat I think it was North Florida on a walk-off home run. So that was impressive for sure. And also, too, on top of that, leading to Jennifer Patrick Swift's 400th career win as a head coach. So definitely hats off to them on an awesome start.
Yeah, no, that's great for coach and great for the team. Good start. They dropped the last one. They started out 4-0, like you said, and then dropped the last one. But definitely, pretty much besides going 5-0, can't ask for a better start. That walk-off home run, that was pretty exciting. So, yeah, definitely good for them.
Yeah, no, and obviously, too, again, I think that really a lot of it, too, was really it was great to see, from the get-go, because I know that heading into the offseason, a lot of people, including myself, were a little bit worried because obviously we saw a good amount of people transfer to leave the program. But obviously it's great to see that we could jump right back in and fill up where we left off at. And then in the meantime, in Game 14 Alpha says might be committing to NCSU. Just finished my scholarship applications for the NCSU College of Sciences today. So congratulations on that, bud. Again, I know that in Game 14 Alpha, for those who don't know, is definitely one of the definitions of a diehard State fan. There's many definitions, but he is one of them. So I know that that's a huge excitement to him and his family. So congratulations on that. But yeah, talking a little bit here. So obviously, Brooklyn Lucero and Maddie McPherson. Again, it was great to see a bunch of different faces, especially from the pitching side, because I know that we lost a couple of big time pitchers through senior and then one transfer to Texas as well. So it was great to see some new names jump in there. But again, just want to touch base again. Obviously, you still got a lot of softball left. Only played one weekend, but couldn't get out of this live stream without mentioning them. Obviously, it was exciting to see them start off with such a hot start. And then jumping over to women's tennis as well. So I know they're probably one of the hottest commodities right now within NC State. I think they're number 3. I think they're top 5 in the country. I do know that. And they're 10-1 overall and have beaten ranked teams like Princeton, Ohio State, Tennessee. They just beat Auburn as well. Number 3 Georgia 4-2. They just lost to number 2 UNC 4-1. But again, number 3 Georgia, 14 Auburn. So what, you're counting 5 top 25 wins right there?
Bunch.
So
yeah, and that was the match against UNC on, I guess that was Sunday, was the indoor semifinals, which was the first time that the NC State women's team has made it to the semifinals. So some history there. Sucks that it had to be UNC they lose against, but UNC is one of the few teams that's also top 5.
Yep, absolutely. So Greg, can you hear us, or are you back rolling?
Yeah, I think I got it. It's user error.
It's all good. Hey, that's the podcast business, right? You're going to run into those technical difficulties, right? The microphone isn't behaving or whatever it may be,
Absolutely.
So So, but yeah, we were just kind of talking about women's tennis there. Obviously Simon Ershaw has definitely got a great thing going there, and definitely for all NC State fans who have not kept up with women's tennis, I highly recommend that you add that to the list of teams to follow ASAP because they're again top 5 in the country right now. Off to a hot start. They started off season 10-0 again, just lost. I think it was this weekend actually to UNC, who was number 2 in the country. But obviously, I'm sure we'll see them again here in the near future. But one of the things I want to mention too is again, I don't know the proper name for it, whether it's a uniform or whatever it's called, but I've seen some pictures, and this is some pretty styling uniforms for sure. I'm a huge fan, so love the all black. Even it's again, I know there's different names for all of them. I'm sure it's a different name for it as well, but just had to add that point in there as well. So
For tennis,
it's always
it's
for
outfit,
women's
maybe?
tennis.
Uniform, I don't know.
Outfit, uniform, whatever it is. But if you don't know what I'm talking about,
Gear.
just Google. Okay,
Gear.
gear. There we go. The gear. But if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I'm telling you, again, the all black with like the red running down the sides. It's pretty sick.
Mhm.
So,
sleek.
so now jumping a little bit into this weekend. So obviously, I think that obviously, first of all, keep in mind as well that we do have the watch party starting at 8 o'clock as we talk about as we watch and react to the men's game playing Georgia Tech. But in the meantime, though, got to talk about this huge weekend coming up because first of all, it's the opening weekend for Pac-9 baseball. So, and as Russell Oral said, Pac-9 3 days away. Is this going to be the year? I don't know, but it's definitely going to be a revenge year, I think, if you ask me. And I've actually seen some betting places as well that they released their top 20 or so favorites to win the World Series, and State wasn't even on that list, which I found interesting. And definitely, if you can find one of those, I recommend putting maybe $10 on it, just in case, and it might lead you into like a $600 profit, maybe one day or this year. You never know.
Yeah.
But so anyway, but also too, Wolfpack Crazy. I'm here. Go Pack. What's up, Wolfpack Crazy? But yeah, I mean, again, obviously this weekend, not necessarily a home run opponent of Evansville. So but hey, it's great to finally have Pac-9 baseball back after obviously it seems like a super long break, but it's awesome. Again, hey, to finally be back in the Doak this weekend is going to be awesome.
Oh yeah, excited for this season. Like you said, I mean, just besides the fact that they've got a pretty good team out there, I don't think there's another team in the country that has more motivation and more to play for than this team.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how all the new folks, that came in, that transferred freshmen, how they get worked in, and hopefully we get off to a better start than we did last year. I know we started off a little sluggish, and then we got hot after about the 12th or so game, 15th game, somewhere around there. So yeah, I'm excited to see what Coach Javent does, and hopefully some of these lesser opponents we can get folks in, get them some at bats, and tinker with the lineup and figure out where everyone's going to be playing. And I don't know, I think it was about a week ago, Avent gave his preseason press conference, and so it'll be interesting to see who that number 3 starter is going to be moving forward. I know the first 2 are pretty much locked up, so these first 2 series will give him an opportunity to see who's going to solidify that 3rd start for the weekend series.
Yeah, and because if I remember correctly, I think whoever does the kind of like the prospect rankings or whatever it is for MLB just came out with their list, and they had in terms of starting pitchers, they had Sam Highfield, Matt Wilson, and somebody else. Can't remember who that is, but I wouldn't be surprised. But hey, again, I mean, I'm sure that there's a certain pitcher that pitched in the Vandy Pac-13 game that has gave himself quite a tryout, but we'll definitely see what happens. But again, that's one thing I love. I'm really excited for mostly is that you're going to see a lot of old faces like the JT Jarretts, the Sam Highfields, the Chris Villamans, the Devontae Browns, and then you're going to see some new guys like the Peyton Greens, the Josh Hoods. So again, it's a great balance, and I think that, especially this season, and because one of the things I loved as well with Avent is that, I mean, you can't. I mean, but you can't. Nobody can ignore what happened last season and really what what motivation comes from it. But also too, I think they did a great job of really just saying, hey, at the end of the day, last year was last year's team's story. Like this is our story now. Like we're starting a new book now. I mean, yeah, I mean, use the motivation from last year for sure. Be a little bit pissed off. I mean, I think we all should, but it actually, because one thing too is I was actually watching a podcast that had Dalton Feeney on it, and he was talking a little bit more about the details of what happened during that whole Pac-13 Sigma or whatever, and I can't remember who it was, but again, it's quite it's quite a story, and hey, it'll be quite a story if we make it back to the College World Series back in June of this year. So
man, can you imagine the media coverage of that if we make it back to the World Series?
Gosh. It'll be amazing. It'd be amazing.
I mean, you can unofficially call it the revenge tour, but they'll never say that publicly. Obviously, Coach Ament said, what's happened has happened, and he won't dwell on it. And I think you definitely use it for motivation, but you don't let it consume you. If you let it consume you, I think you have a chance to get out of whack and out of rhythm. So,
but I think part of that, which will help with that, is that there are a lot of new faces. I mean, there's plenty of people returning, but it's not like up and down the lineup everybody's there from last year.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like football.
Yeah.
No, that's true. But I mean, because one of the things I love as well is I love seeing like for example, like UNC Charlotte, who is slowly and quietly grown into a predominantly year after year you see them in the regionals, and you're seeing them in the top 25, and to have two of their starting players leave and come to NC State, I mean, it says a lot about the program that Avon and Coach Hart's built. And so that's, again, hats off to them on that, but also you see that elsewhere. But I mean, that's just the biggest example I've seen of, because again, I mean, they could have easily stayed there and, probably competed again for, conference championship, competed for the NCAA regionals, super regionals, have been happy. But, it says a lot. They want to come here and be a part of this and, again, finish that goal that we're all wanting, which is a championship. And first of all, ACC championship. But if we could sprinkle in a nice national championship on top of it, I don't think that'll be too upsetting many Wolfpack Nation fans either. So
I'm happy to trade in a non-ACC championship for a national championship. So
absolutely.
I'll be all right.
Yeah. We'll learn to cope with it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I do want to say, so it came out today. So D1 baseball did the top 150 starting pitchers for the season, and they had Sam Highfield number 8, Matt Willitson number 37, and then Logan Adams at number 140. So that's the third one. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, I mean, I know that it's especially early in the season too. There's so much. Again, people don't even realize how many baseball games there is in college baseball, really. And so, I mean, don't be surprised by any means if you see Matt Willitson, you see Sam Highfield, but then maybe you'll see a different guy, a couple of Sundays, until we know for sure who we want.
Garrett Payne's a name to watch.
Oh yeah. No, Garrett. Again, he's the guy that we've seen what he can do on the biggest stage of them all. So we'll see what happens with them. But I'll be excited though to see Devontae Brown make a couple of Sports Center catches this weekend too. Yeah. So it'll be cool to see. But yeah, so make sure, guys, if you haven't already, make sure to go get some tickets. Again, I think right now tickets are selling like $5-10 a piece, super cheap right now. And I think that the schedule is 3 to 1, 3 p.m., 2 p.m., 1 p.m., Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if you can go check those out, make sure to go check them out. Again, don't know what the weather's going to be like, but hey, I mean, it's cheap baseball. It's Pac-9 baseball back once again. And there's going to be a lot of talent on this team this year, and looking forward to watching them.
Are they going to have any kind of I know they put the banner outside of Doak, but I wonder if they're going to do any kind of pre-game acknowledgement of the College World Series run from last year. Has anyone heard that?
I don't know.
I haven't heard any of that, but
it'd be cool if they did something.
The way Avon's talking about it, I would guess they wouldn't.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards that as well. Don't forget also. Go ahead.
They did add the numbers on the outfield, which I thought was cool.
That was cool.
Yes. No, that was a great addition. I know we tweeted that out as well. So that's definitely, a quick little addition that definitely adds some color at least to the outfield, but also
Yeah.
too is a great recruiting tool to, be like, hey, look, see, 44 All-Americans, all that jazz. Like, it's easy little checklist. Oh, okay, that's right. They have all this. So, but
it's a natural
one thing I do
tool.
exactly, but one thing I do want to say as well is, I mean, I definitely think that in this case scenario, that the last year's team definitely, I think if you asked all of them, they would say, listen, I mean, you know, we got on every national attention. Dave Portnoy, for goodness sakes, even went on a rant for us as well. So it's like, we don't need any more recognition. I'm sure. I mean, it's just like, at the end of the day, it is what it is, and but also too, I mean, everybody in the whole country has said exactly how they feel, so that's kind of thing I would say as well. Is it's like, okay, we all know they're amazing. They're never going to be forgotten in the history of NC State history. They're never going to be forgotten in history of NCAA period. That they're never going to get forgotten, and especially too because literally, if you count how many times in NFL, MLB, NCAA, every single sports organization out there, how many teams went through what state baseball went through? And I could argue maybe zero, pretty much zero. I mean, like where they were in the national championship hunt and got pulled, and at the last second. Now, because I mean, I know you could say, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the only thing that I really remember back in the NBA playoffs and the finals, you had CP3 out for a game or two with COVID, but that was just an individual person. Yeah. So I mean, you can argue that it had an effect on the series, but I mean,
VCU got pulled out of the tournament, but that was first round basketball, which is a little different than one game away from the College World Series title,
right?
Or final.
Yeah. So so minimal.
Yeah. And still one question which still just will forever haunt me is, what if we would have won that Pac-13 game? What would the NCAA have done? Like, it's still just laughable to me. That would have been quite a predicament.
Yeah, it made it like it was a tough situation, but us losing made it easier for the NCAA at that point, because if they won, we would have had a right to be in the final. So,
and one other point I'll add as well is, I don't know if you guys saw this, but NCAA baseball tweeted out a picture of Dalton Feeney at the College World Series, and it's like, oh, so now you're excited for us to play baseball? Yeah. Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah,
so that's not how you said it.
I don't think we mentioned, but Sam Highfield is on the watch list for the Golden Spikes Award.
Oh yeah,
that came out today. So
that's huge.
So he's already getting preseason accolades, and I'm sure they'll be. It's interesting that they don't do like they do for basketball and football, like first team preseason and all that stuff. They don't have all the media and all that those other two sports have. So, but it's going to be a lot of good competition. I mean, you got Notre Dame, you got Florida State, that other school down the road that wears that early shade of blue. They're getting some preseason hype. So, and of course, Louisville's always good. Miami's good. It's going to be Georgia. I was going to say Georgia Tech there too. Yep. So ACCs were one of the toughest out there, and probably next to the SEC. I would argue that they're probably vying for number 2. The SEC still rules baseball. That's going to be a tough perch to knock them off of. But ACC absolutely does all right though.
No kidding. So want to kind of touch on some of the comments here. So in Game 14 Alpha also said, I will be attending my 100th game at Carter Finley this year. Okay, man. Wow. That's awesome. that's keeping notes, keeping track right there.
I think that might be more than I've gone to. I've been to a lot, but I don't know about 100.
Yeah, I don't think I've hit 100 myself. Probably in the 70s myself.
I had to go back and add them up.
I know.
Yeah. Well, and because I mean, honestly, I mean, I've probably been to more away games since I was a football equipment manager than maybe a typical fan's been to. So that's kind of something I want to think about as well. But
what's your favorite away? I was going to say, what was your favorite away venue? Like if you had to say, like if you're an NC State fan, like what would be your bucket list away game?
So I'll keep it ACC, right? I mean, because I mean, So the Syracuse Dome, I mean, it's cool to see these, because I mean, it's kind of like Reynolds Coliseum, where they basically have like their history around the dome, so you can like see like the different trophies and different players on just. That's kind of cool. But I mean, Florida State's just really hot, so that's one thing I would say as well. I mean, Florida State's cool just because there's so much history there, but I mean, it's a blazer. But also too, I would say as well that I mean, you got to go experience the full thing. So like me, like until they get good again, until they get sold out, doing a full house like chop, it's like save your money until then. But so I see at this point I'm just kind of going through them. Obviously, Carolina's a dud. Don't worry about Carolina.
Right. I would say probably Duke's on that same list too.
Yeah,
Duke's on that same list as well. Virginia Tech is really.
I was going to say, did you do Virginia Tech? Yeah, Virginia Tech's really good. I went there when they played against Carolina, just to go troll Carolina, and it was rowdy.
Oh, was that this year when they played?
No, this was a couple of years ago. No, this was probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay,
I got looks like. I was going to say I got looks because I brought all my state gear for tailgating because I have a really good friend that went there. She's like, "Hey, can you throw a tailgate for me?" I'm like, "Sure." And they're like, "You do know it's Carolina," and I'm like, "You do know that that's our rival, so I'm just here to troll them." So
I have just as much to cheer for as you do. So
right. I come in peace.
I come in peace, really. Trust me. Go Hokies. I'll do the hokey pokey all day long. So I mean, so the funny story though is with me is that so when we went to Virginia Tech was 2014 or 2015. Was that the
night game? The rainy night game? Yeah.
The rainy night game. Yep. And for those who probably weren't there, but for those who don't remember as well, is that basically the game got delayed due to storms, and it was still raining pretty hard outside. I remember getting notified, all right, they're going to start the game in 15 minutes. I'm like, really? Like, it's still raining. Like, no, because I was a ball boy during that time, and being a ball boy in a rainstorm is almost impossible. Yeah, exactly. And because one of the things that was unfortunate as well is because I'm a huge college football fan, and Virginia Tech, in my opinion, is one if not the best entrance in college football. And of course my wife would say, because she went to South Carolina, and I would say, well, you have the best pregame kickoff tradition, that's for sure. But I mean the but their entrance is pretty cool as well. But anyway, But
Virginia Tech too is they have to walk a long way to get into the stadium. Yeah, I mean it's
crazy.
Yeah, I remember when they played Ohio State and they did the whole entrance thing, and it was like 20 minutes before the game even started. I'm like, good gosh, you can go grab some nachos.
So anyway, so unfortunately for that game, since they delayed the game, they literally started the game like pretty much right when they opened the gates to let people back in. So meaning that literally the game had started and there was maybe a couple thousand fans in the stands, and then they start and then I think it was like after the first drive or something like that, they did Enter Sandman, and again with only maybe like a few thousand fans in the stands. So it was not even close to the same. So and I've told my wife as well, because we haven't been to a full Virginia Tech game. We're like, oh, we got to go check it out. So
it was
I would
definitely
have to say Virginia Tech's got to be up on the list. Boston College, don't worry about Boston College.
I did that.
Don't put that on your list.
No. Good place to go hang out though.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Louisville, I would say I would probably check it out just because they just did those new additions. They just added that fourth section on the side. So it should be pretty impressive now. But also to check out part of the Bourbon Trail while you're there as well, right?
That was the best part. Hey, I got a really quick Louisville story if we got time.
Go for it.
Yeah, so we went there. Louisville was horrible. I mean, I paid full price for tickets. It was like $50. Some people that we were tailgating with in the Wolfpack Club lot didn't have tickets, and they ended up sitting 2 rows behind us. They paid $5 a ticket, so I was a little upset with that. But I almost got into a fight at that game. We had some. Yeah, and I was really cool, like calm about it. But there was some probably 20-something-year-olds, about 7 rows behind us. The knucklehead literally got on the field behind our bench. Like there was no security. I'm going ballistic. I'm like yelling at an usher, like, hey, there's a guy on the field. And then like hit their buddies, started throwing crap at me and my wife. And I'm just like, come on, really? And then the cops come down and they're like, you should have come talk to us. I'm like, dude, you're 50 rows up there. Like there's an usher 20 feet away. So my wife is like pushing me back, like, just shut up. You're fine. Like, and so anyway, they finally, in fact, your buddy, Country finally finally like grabbed him, like, dude, you shouldn't be here, and they finally turned him over to the cops. But it was a mess. Yeah, it was a mess. Like I was literally losing my mind, going, "There's a guy on the field." Yeah,
good for you, country. And for those who don't know, again, it's the head equipment manager for football. But just through these real quickly. So yeah, Wake Forest, no. Clemson, yes, but parking is a nightmare. So just go ahead and prepare for that. Parking is an absolute nightmare. Pittsburgh, never been there. Miami, you've never been there, but
I've been to Pittsburgh.
No, I mean again, it's
too.
Well, it is Pittsburgh, so
yeah, they were horrible. Yeah. They're horrible fans.
And
Miami,
the same
Miami
thing. Yeah, you were there. You just were there this
good.
year, Mike.
Yeah, so. I like Miami. I was up in the club levels, and like their club level was legit. So
yeah.
Well, it is
really
Hard Rock Stadium, so
yeah.
Well, it is really Hard Rock. So, I mean, it's
pretty new.
Yeah.
And then UVA. I mean, it's
snooze fest.
Yeah, I mean,
they don't show up.
And then Georgia Tech, same thing. So I mean, so basically, if you're adding ACC teams to your checklist, I would say
Notre
Clemson.
Dame.
They're not
sort of,
okay. Fine,
sort of ACC.
Fine. We're talking football right now. We're talking football right now. I know, but they're not ACC.
I know.
So, but no, I hear
they're
you.
A partial qualifier.
Yeah, no, but yeah. So we would recommend Clemson, Louisville, Florida State, Miami, Virginia Tech, and Notre Dame. Add those to your bucket list if you haven't gone to those already. But Notre Dame as well. Again, we went to the Notre Dame game, and golly, that was a nightmare. That was definitely one of those games that I would have been so much happier watching at home, just because it was so cold and it was rainy, and we learned. Oh, well. See, one of the problems as well for it was that we actually stayed in Chicago instead of staying in South Bend, so we took an hour train ride.
Did you do the railgate?
Well, but we didn't do it with the Wolfpack Club.
Okay, gotcha.
So we had to pretty much do it on our own, and because one of the problems as well is that after the game, because again, you basically have to take the train and then you have to take a bus to the stadium. Well, after the game, you're soaking wet, you're cold, you're pissed off because we just got our butts whooped, and now you have to wait for a bus. And then we got to the train station, and then we just missed the train. So meaning we had to wait like an hour and 15 minutes for the train to come back to get us. And then we took an hour ride back to Chicago. So it was a long day. So we ended
up getting a hotel. We stayed over. We actually stayed in Michigan. So we were about 40 minutes from South Bend.
Okay.
We had a good tailgate up there. If I do it again, I think I'm going to do an Airbnb near the stadium. I think that's probably a better way to go. Those hotels for like a 2-3 star hotel were like $400. I'm like, I'm not paying that much money for a dinky inn. Like,
I'm sure. But again, I mean, are you shocked though? I mean, again, it's Notre Dame.
Not at all. Not at all. It's smart. It's business. It's capitalism.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is what it is. But one of the things I want to go ahead and move into as well, though, because we have 25 minutes until we're switching over to the watch party. So obviously we spoke a little bit about football here, but also too, I saw Mark Sigmund, insurance agency, says the real question is if Greg the Leg is going to travel with the ladies during March Madness. So Greg, I'll let you answer that question.
Yeah, so I'm hoping. I mean, tickets are hard to get for the ladies for their home games, assuming that I'm 99% sure at this point we're going to host the first 2 rounds. In fact, this is the last year that's going to happen. Next year they're going to pods, so this will be the last time that we'll be automatically guaranteed. You'll have to put the host bid in, but so I plan on going to those 2 games. If the projections are correct, UConn up in Bridgeport would be the next stop. I could see myself hopping on a train and going up there or flying if the flights were right. So and then I don't remember. I looked it up the other day. I don't remember where the finals. I think Minnesota is where the Final Four is for the women this year. I want to say.
Okay. You going and buying tickets for the Final Four, Greg?
No. I'll wait. I have a feeling we could get the allotment through the Wolfpack Club, not a problem. Or you could probably even buy them on your own. If it's I think it's like the Target Center. They probably seat 17 to 20,000. I'm sure we can probably get tickets.
Absolutely.
I might if it lines up right. Definitely the Carol, the games at State. And then just depending on the next round, how that works out. If it's East Coast, I'll try. I know Spokane is one of them, and then I think somewhere else in the Midwest, I probably wouldn't do that. But it's Connecticut. Yeah. Oh, it's Greensboro, I think, is the other location. But I think South Carolina will get that.
Okay. Yeah. You're right. It's Greensboro, South Carolina will get that, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So again, right now South Carolina's dominant. No, Dawn Staley's definitely got herself quite a crew down there in Columbia, South Carolina. So, but one of the things I want to say as well is, again, so we actually just bought 2 tickets we bought the whole session for women's basketball tournament, ACC women's basketball tournament. And for those who don't know, literally you can buy all the sessions together for like $100 a ticket. So I mean, it's super cheap right now. And again, so I mean, like if you divide it up, that's like less than $5 a game. And because I mean, especially too, because like literally, if you bought just like the championship game, it's going to run you at least $50 to $60 just for the championship game, and that's with all the fees and all that included. So it's like might as well just get all of them, and then you could just pick and choose. Especially if you're in the area. Like I know for me and Macon. For the last 2 years, actually, we've gone and done like an all-day thing where we just go to Greensboro and just watch all the games for that day. Now, obviously, that was when men's basketball was here, but women's basketball is here. So, I mean, I'm definitely at least going to do that. Go watch some women's basketball. And obviously check the state game as well. Obviously, so yeah, I mean, definitely if you haven't already, if you're up, if you can spare $100, and definitely if you're a women's basketball fan, if you're near the Greensboro area, go do it. I'm telling you, it's the best bang for your buck out there. There's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm. Especially with how good the ACC has been.
Yeah, I was going to say right now, if everything stays the same, I think State would be slotted to play the 3:00 game on Friday as the 1 seed.
Okay.
And then they would come back and play Saturday and Sunday if they were advanced. But you get like, I think it's like 20 some games, 25 games, something like that for $100. That ends up being like $4 or $5 a game. I mean, that's good value right there. So
that's about as good as it gets right there, no doubt.
Yeah.
Especially too if State makes it to the championship against more likely Louisville. Ooh, man, that's going to be a big ticket. So definitely make sure to do that. So touching a little bit more as well on this weekend. So obviously, NC State gymnastics they go against Carolina on Saturday at 4 p.m. at Reynolds. So that's what I mean. This weekend you literally got baseball Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You got wrestling, which we'll talk about here in a second, Friday and Sunday, and then you got gymnastics on Saturday. So literally meaning that every single day you could, if you wanted to, check out a little bit of baseball, check out a little bit of wrestling, or check a little bit of baseball, check a little bit of gymnastics all 3 days. So you can see Doak and Reynolds.
Women's basketball on Sunday too. So you could do a Reynolds doubleheader because the women play at 2 and the men wrestle at 6.
Wow, man!
So you could do a Reynolds doubleheader.
It'll be a full weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No kidding. And because who does women's play on Sunday?
I knew you were going to ask that.
Wake Forest?
I think that's Wake Forest. Yeah.
Wake Forest or Syracuse?
Yeah.
Got both of them left on the schedule.
Yeah, and I know we have Virginia Tech left too. So I know that's
Sunday is
I'm going to say
home
Syracuse.
against Syracuse. Yeah. At 2 o'clock.
Syracuse. Okay. Yeah, because I think Syracuse and Wake Forest are our last 2 home games. So
and Syracuse isn't very good.
Basically,
their whole program transferred out last year, and they fired their coach.
Right, I know.
Some misdoings.
Yeah. So, So again, definitely make sure and again, we'll talk a little bit here about wrestling, but we're going to go ahead and remind you again that if you're in the area, there's a ton of NC State athletics this weekend, so definitely make sure you check it out. But obviously, again, got to talk about wrestling because wrestling, I would say this weekend. I mean, as great as it is to start Pac-9 and as cool as it is to, have women's basketball playing, as cool as it is to have gymnastics going on this weekend, I mean, wrestling is no doubt the prime time. Like that's got to be the most talked about thing this weekend because you got 2 top 15 teams. I think Carolina is like the top 15, top 20 team in the country right now.
Yeah,
definitely.
And definitely top 25, but I would say actually definitely top 20, but definitely.
I think there's 16 or 17.
Yeah, that's what I think. But one of the things as well to keep in mind as well is, and because we actually tweeted out today the probable what the probable card is going to look like, meaning so who's going to wrestle for each weight class, and the one that really stands out to me for Carolina, and we tweeted that out, is Ed Scott versus the reigning national champion Austin O'Connor. I mean, I think that's a huge opportunity because I mean, obviously O'Connor, he's a reigning national champion in his weight class. He's junior or senior, but anyway, he's been in college wrestling for many years. Ed Scott's this new kid on the block that penned Iowa, which was really impressive, and he's had overall a very impressive year. Obviously, he's only had one loss, and the one loss, and I think we were kind of talking about, was really just kind of a freshman mistake that he just basically wore himself out too quickly and never really made it back. So, I mean, he's going to definitely learn from that, but I think that's going to be a crazy match. And holy smokes, if Ed could pull off that upset, that would be ridiculous. But before we talk a little bit more into it, so just a reminder. So again, we go against UNC Friday evening at 7 p.m. and then we go against Virginia Tech, who is a top 5 or 6 team in the country on Sunday at 6 p.m. is what it is. So, but yeah, again, I mean, just a huge opportunity. And one thing I want to also mention as well is that Virginia Tech is actually a non-conference matchup. It's not a conference matchup. Right. Right. So, you're right. I know. Yeah. Which is, I'm sure it's going to get brought up on Sunday once or twice, by the fans, by the wrestlers on the mat, and by the coaches probably a little bit as well, being like, hey, I mean, it didn't have to be this way. It didn't have to be this way. That's all I'm saying. So, but man, and I'm actually needing to pull up as well, but talking a little bit more about the UNC one again, I think, because one thing to keep in mind is that it's actually senior night. I can't remember if they're doing it on Friday or if they moved it. Okay, no, so they're doing it Friday, even though the last one is on Sunday. But that's because, again, the Sunday match against Virginia Tech was added in during the season. So I guess you're just going to move forward with the senior day festivities on Friday. So make sure, first of all, if you haven't already, make sure to get a ticket for UNC. It should be a packed house senior night, again, with this 2016 class that at the time was ranked number 1 in the country, that recruiting class, with Hayden Hidlay, Tariq Wilson, the Bullards. Again, I mean, what an amazing recruiting class that was. So,
as an extra bonus, they're doing T-shirt night too. So get there early, get your T-shirts.
Free T-shirts.
Yeah.
Free T-shirts. You don't have to catch them this time. You don't even have to catch them. So
that's right. That's right. So looking at it right now, so obviously, yeah. So you got number 11 Ed Scott versus number 5 Austin O'Connor. And then you got number 3 Tariq Wilson versus number 10 Zach Sherman. Number 4 Hayden Hidlay versus number 9 Clay Lout, I guess. Lout is how you say his last name. So, so again, I mean, you got multiple top 10 matchups in their weight class on Friday. But then, if you move to Sunday, I mean,
even more.
There's so many amazing matchups this weekend, highlighted mostly by number 4 Hayden Hidlay versus number 3 Mekhi Lewis. And for those who don't know, Mekhi Lewis 2 years ago was an NCAA champion in his weight class. He was also, too, if I'm not mistaken, a medalist for Team USA, unless I'm mistaken. But he's also never lost in the ACC other than the injury default, which was last year. He lost due to an injury default. But he's never lost in the ACC. And then Hayden Hidlay has also never lost in the ACC.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought he was undefeated.
And he has a 40-plus match dual win streak right now. So, I mean, you literally have 2 of the hottest wrestlers in all of college wrestling going against each other this weekend at Reynolds Coliseum Sunday evening at 6 p.m. So, I mean, and again, that's just one. We have 10. And literally every single one of them, I mean, I'm literally counting. There's only one wrestler that is not ranked in the top 25 that's going to be wrestling Sunday evening.
Heavyweight.
No. That's Clayton Ulray from Virginia Tech, who's going against number 121 Thomas Bullard. So okay, I see what you're saying. He's not ranked in top 30 because they count up to top 30 because you got Tyree Houghton is number 26, who's our heavyweight.
Yeah, depending on what poll you buy into, because I think
exactly
one of them had him at 25. So
you're right, exactly. So either way, basically just making the point that, again, I mean, literally, and we tweeted this out, that literally this weekend, Friday and Sunday, you're going to see some of the best matches that NCAA college wrestling overall has to offer. And you're going to see them within literally, 48 hours of each other in Reynolds Coliseum. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity. And
tickets are only $7. Like so,
$7.
Yeah.
$7. I think it's like $9 with all the fees, but still, it's like under $10. But for anyone that doesn't make it, it's going to be on ACC Network Friday night. That's going to be their Friday night duels. I'm not sure about Sunday because I know usually
I think
that's
it is
reserved for basketball. Yeah, I'm not sure, but obviously just check your local listings.
I would say 90% sure. There's almost no way the AC Network would miss out on not televising a match like that. It is going to be huge. And because specifically one other one I have to highlight is again number 14 Jacob Camacho versus number 20 Sam Latona, the 125 weight class. And because again, just to give you a little bit of backstory, when you watch the match this weekend in terms of why this is such a big deal. So last year, if you go back for the NC State Virginia Tech duel match, and we talked about this during the watch party with Tommy Gant, but basically it came down to a last second takedown by Sam Latona of Virginia Tech over Camacho to beat Camacho and then also to win the duel. So literally Sam Latona beating Camacho won the duel for Virginia Tech and therefore got the regular season ACC title. And then on top of it, Sam Latona and Camacho also faced in the ACC championship, and Latona won then as well. So there's been a couple of huge bouts between these two. So that's going to be a huge one to watch. But again, so just as a reminder and just kind of going through everything. So again, we got for baseball, you got 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You got Carolina versus NC State wrestling, 7 p.m. Friday. Gymnastics at 4 p.m. on Saturday, and then also to wrestling at 6 p.m. against Virginia Tech on Sunday, along with women's basketball as well at 2 p.m. So, oh my gosh, I mean,
and then men's basketball on Saturday,
and men's basketball on Saturday,
TV. Yeah, away game.
Right, exactly. So all hands on deck. So talking a little bit, you kind of mentioned about basketball. Obviously we're about 10 minutes away. I can't read my clock over here. 10 minutes away from jumping over to our watch party and talking about and reacting and discussing the NC State versus Georgia Tech men's basketball game coming up here. But it's a tough sled right now for sure. It's an interesting conversation. It's a conversation which no State fan I'm sure likes to have. No State fan really wants to talk about, but it's one that at the end of the day, it's the elephant in the room. Exactly. We couldn't be an NC State podcast and not talk about it, a little bit here. So, which obviously we're going to talk plenty about it during the watch party, but we'll talk a little bit about it here ahead of time. But obviously, again, a huge disappointment because really it all really comes down to finishing the game. That's really all this season has come down to. How many games have we literally been like tied at least, if not probably leading at the end of with 5-10 minutes left in the second half, and then end up losing. It's just like Wake Forest, like holy smokes, we were really like tied with them with like 7 minutes left, and then just like didn't score a point for the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. And so
18-0, 19-0 run for them to finish the game, something like that.
Yeah. So again, it's disappointing for sure, and it, at the end of the day, it's honestly just beating a dead bush. At this point, it's like, okay, yeah, listen, we're injured. It's frustrating right now. There's no doubt that changes need to be made this offseason, not necessarily to the head coach, but some assistant coaching changes need to be made. We've obviously missed Manny Bates. We're obviously young with Big T. Who's been literally like a roller coaster. He has shown so much signs of amazingness, but then he'll, have a game where he'll shoot 1 for 12, and then Helms has obviously been disappointing overall as well. So again, it's just, it's a broken record. We've said the same thing as 100 times. So it's honestly at this point, to me, it's just, okay, we got a couple of games left here. We got Carolina coming up here in a week or two. Let's just do everything we can to, really just try and build any kind of momentum we can heading into this offseason. Obviously highlighted by, see if we can pull something against Carolina. Hey, again, I mean, Carolina, again, they have been a roller coaster. They have
Jekyll and Hyde.
They've been such a Jekyll and Hyde. So again, I mean, as bad as we've been overall, there's no doubt that, Carolina could have a bad day, and we might take advantage. You never know.
And I think Going back to what you said earlier about finishing games, we've had 7 games this season that we've lost that have been 2 possessions or less, so within 6 points. So if we just find a way to win those, our record looking pretty good actually. But I think, like you said, if we can pull out a win against UNC, I think that will build a lot of momentum and goodwill for Keats and going into next season.
Well, and
just
even starting
consistency at the
tonight
end
as
of the
well.
day.
Right. Well, even starting tonight as well. Again, I think it was Matt Coe that said that Keats hasn't even beaten Georgia Tech yet in his tenure. So,
and we just lost to Pitt for like the first time in 8 years.
Who he hadn't lost to. It's weird.
Yeah. So watch tonight. We'll end up winning, and it'll just be like, what? Like,
like come on, what? And especially too, because I'd have to go back and look at our record, but I feel like our record for men's basketball games, watch parties, are actually pretty good. I think we're probably at about 500 right now, honestly, if I had to go back and look. But again, I mean, it's a frustration. But and again, I know that every state fan, including us, I mean, obviously we're not happy by any means in terms of where we are right now. But at the end of the day, just almost bet that Kevin Keats is going to be the head coach for next season. Almost bet it. I mean, obviously we still got some basketball left. But I couldn't see a situation, honestly, still, no matter what happens the rest of this. I mean, okay, I would say no matter what, there are ways, but with how this team has done overall, again, they've played hard. They've, at least been, competitive for the most part. But I mean, unless we just absolutely crap the bed, like if we get beat by like 50 or 60 against UNC, I'm going to be like, oh, maybe we need to talk about it. But, but like, assuming hopefully more likely we give Carolina a fight, then more likely we're going to have him as a head coach for next season. But definitely, again, it'll be an interesting conversation to see what happens this offseason. Go ahead, Michael.
I think you just got to be competitive in the rest of the games. I mean, I think even if we lose out, I don't think that changes anything unless we're losing every game by 20 points or something.
Yeah. And again, we're talking not necessarily from what our opinions are as fans, but we're talking realistically. We're telling you from what we've been hearing from Boo Corrigan, where he literally went on a radio show and said, Keats is our guy for now. And also too, with, I mean, again, that the fact that the NCAA investigation was lifted this year is a huge breath, huge, weight off the shoulders of not only Keats but the entire basketball program. And so again, you got to give him at least an opportunity this offseason to make a change. And because just like Greg was, he made a point, a couple of weeks ago saying with basketball, you don't need 3-4 years to rebuild, to this huge program. You just need 1 year. You just need one big year, and then you're right back in it. And because who knows? Right, Auburn out of nowhere.
If they. I mean, they were good a couple of years before, but last year I think they may have had single-digit wins. Like I think they only won 9 games or so, right around.
Not to mention that they were under the same umbrella that we were with the investigations, right?
Yeah,
because they had guys that were involved. Chuck Person, I believe, was their guy.
Exactly.
That name. So I mean, very similar path. But going back to your point, Leighton, I mean, you brought up a good point there with Boo going on the record, giving them that the vote of confidence. If an AD is going to do that, they're usually not going to back down from that, like you said, unless something major happens. Now, we don't know if it's going to be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 1 year, but he's going to at least probably get one more.
I think at this point it's basically year by year, which isn't great. You don't want to have a coach in that situation, but it's ultimately where we're at.
Well, because I'm a year. Right. Yeah. Well, because I'm definitely one fan that is super excited about the potential of Dilly Dilly coming to NC State and seeing what he can do. But at the end of the day, if he doesn't show me more next season to show that he can take full advantage of Dilly Dilly when it comes to town, then I'm not going to give him that opportunity. I don't care, if it risks us losing Dilly Dilly. At the end of the day, I mean, if he does this next season, then okay. I mean, we got too high of we got high expectations. We do, again, and I can go on a huge rant about this, saying at the end of the day, people saying that we can't ever be what Duke or Carolina is, but
That's
that
not
just
true.
again, why can't we be on the same level as them? Honestly, I mean, we have great facilities. We have just great fans. I mean, maybe we could put more money into it, honestly. But I mean, for the time being, we have enough money, we have enough interest in it that we should at least be competitive in the ACC. So I think if Keats can get back to that point, then we could talk more about putting some more money into men's basketball. But until then, he's just gonna have to get back to competitive of what he has, because he has plenty to at least be competitive in the ACC, and especially to be competitive with Duke and Carolina. I would say that now that Roy's gone and Coach K has 1 foot out the door, I would say he should be competitive with Duke and Carolina as well, year in and year out.
Yeah,
that's my personal thoughts on it.
Regardless, it's next year or bust. Whether he's if he's there, it's next year. It's you have to win, because with the way the fan base is right now, especially on social media, we don't really need to go into that. You spend 5 minutes on NC State basketball, you can find all the comments that you need to find. But you just can't have a fan base turn on the coach. And that goes to not filling the seats. That's revenue. There's a lot there. So if he is here next year, it's the show me year. If not, then they'll show him out the door. I mean, it's just plain and simple.
Yep, absolutely. And that goes if Manny Bates, if Big T, if Sebron all leave, I don't care. Next year's still the show me year. I don't care how bad it is for you next season.
You better go find some people in the transfer portal.
I need you to learn. I need you to learn, and I need you to go in the transfer portal and get a big.
Go out to Barnes and Noble, get transfer portal for dummies. Whatever you got to do,
whatever you got to do.
Find some people. Yeah, find some people.
Whatever you got to do. So anyway, though, so obviously again we're going to be starting here in a minute with our watch party as we dive into the Georgia Tech game. But just as a reminder, again, make sure if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Again, it's free to do it, and make sure that you don't miss out whenever we go live or whenever we release new content. And also to make sure to give us a follow, Tuffy Talk Now, if you haven't already, on Twitter or Instagram. And also to, again, give this video a like if you don't mind as well, because I hear that UNC fans hate when State fans like Tuffy Talk videos. So if you do that, it's a pushback against Carolina fans everywhere. So, and I'm just saying off the top of my head, okay. So, but again, make sure to enjoy.
We did beat Carolina this week, though.
We did.
Home field para.
Oh yeah,
we beat them on their launch day. So,
yeah,
there you go.
I'm supposed to be here tomorrow.
Me too. Yep.
So make sure again also to What Pay Nation to go enjoy some awesome NC State athletics this weekend. Go buy those tickets. Go support these guys 100%. It will be 100% worth your while. But again, we're going to be jumping over here to the watch party, so just stay tuned here for 1 second, and we'll be going back live here in less than a minute. See you guys in a sec.